So, you want to make this kind of line art and this sketchy shadow just like the Spider-Man 2099 shader to your artwork? Easy. In this video, I'll show you exactly how to do it, step by step, and by the end you'll be able to add some extra pop to your model like a pro. And if you miss how I create this shader, don't worry, the link to the video is in the description. Okay, let's open Blender. Okay, we will continue from the previous progress, and we're gonna start by doing the shadow. And actually it's almost the same with the glitch mask, but I have a little twist here. And we will start by adding a new UV map to our model and name it shadow. Next, we're gonna project the model UV from the front, but here's the trick. We'll do it in perspective view and not orthographic. Simply press A to select all, change the view to the front of the character, and then change to perspective, and then press U and choose project from view. Select all of the UV, and now we can adjust the UV scale to match with the UV tile. I noticed there's some issue using the orthographic projection on a surface that is flat to the ground. So by using perspective, we can avoid to get this flat projection on the flat surface. Next up, let's add a wave texture to the shader to see how things will be projected. Add a wave texture, create a UV map, and then choose shadow, and connect them like this. Let's change the direction to Y, increase the size to 30, and now we have the stripes texture on our model. Next, let's create a diffuse shader with a rim light. Add the diffuse shader, shader to RGB node, layer weight node, and a map range. Connect the facing output to the value input. Increase the minimum value to make the rim light thinner, and next, we can just mix the map range and also the shader to RGB. Press Ctrl Shift, right click, drag from here to here. And then change the vector to 1, and change the blending mode to screen. Now we have our diffuse shader converted to RGB, but also with a rim light to highlight the body contour. Next, let's try to multiply the diffuse shader with the wave texture. Increase the vector to 1, and change the blending mode to screen. And the result should be like this. By adding a color ramp and adjust the point position like this, you'll notice that the shadow and the lines blend together smoothly like this. To make the line stop at bright surface, we can brighten up the line color by using a color ramp, change the black color to light gray, and the lines will shorten depending on the light intensity. We can also adjust the color ramp here to make the color more contrast. Seems like we can adjust the sharpness of the lines using this color ramp. Maybe we can add a new point here, and we can adjust the position and also the brightness to make the line not too thin and make the middle part looks a bit thicker. To ensure the texture is contrast enough, let's add another color ramp and move all of the points closer like this. Alright, we're making progress here. For now, let's pause here because we'll be focusing on working on the UV for a while. To make it easier to see the lines flow, let's temporarily darken the color of the wave back. Okay, let's start by adjusting the UV orientation. Select the part that you want to adjust. And for me, I will select the arm and stop before the shoulder. Enable the proportional editing. Tick the connected only settings, and for the rotation pivot, we'll use the 2D cursor position around the shoulder. Change the pivot to 2D cursor, and start to rotate. If there is unexpected movement among the vertices, maybe it happened because the influence range is just too big. Just do scroll down until the range suits your needs. Once that's done, let's move on to adjust the other arm and legs. After we finish orienting the UV, we're gonna continue to tweak the UV to adjust the lines flow to follow the anatomy contour. Select one or more vertices, keeping the proportional editing on, and move the vertex. If you move the vertex, it will make the lines moving like this, and it will form a curve like this. Moving it up, it will make the lines curves down. Moving it to the left, it will curve the lines to the right. This process can give us the interesting curved lines we are after. And also you can adjust the line thickness by scaling them. Keep the proportional editing remains on to make a seamless transition. And you can make a white surface like this, have a thicker lines, or maybe the small details, or maybe something that will fold, have a thinner lines. Alright, that's enough, at least you got the idea. Let's switch back the line color ramp back to the light gray color. As we're moving forward, we'll add a shadow to specific facial features such as the eyes, nose, and mouth to ensure they always cast a shadow. And I will use a prep texture for this part. Simply drop it down and the texture looks like this. Now we can mix the texture with this color ramp, change the factor to 1, and change the blending mode to multiply. And the result will be something like this. And by changing the factor, you can adjust the shadow intensity and make the facial feature shadow clearer. Next, let's combine the shadow with the main shader, and we're gonna put it here behind the emissive mix node. Move this to the side a bit, duplicate the mix node from here, and put it here, and connect the shadow to the color B, and change the blending mode to multiply. And yeah, this is how the shader looks like. But hold for a second. The shadow texture appears too clean. Let's add some noise texture to it. We'll follow the similar process with the face mask, but this time we're gonna add a noise texture and then create a UV map, change the UV to base, connect it to the factor, and then increase the scale, duplicate this mix node and put it beside here. And then connect the noise texture to the color B. The result will be something like this, and the shadow will have a noisy texture like this. And to adjust the contrast, we can use a map range, and we can play with the numbers. And we can also adjust the noise texture scale to get a texture like a marker drawn on a paper. It will help to make the shadow look more natural. And here's the comparison. Yeah, that's for the shadow. You can continue to work on the line art. What I'm about to show you next are various methods I use to create line art on my artwork, and each technique offers a different art direction and aesthetic. But combining these methods together, it will give you a fresh look on your render. Let's start by creating a basic line art for the overall model. Press Shift A, create an object line art, and I like to organize the object nicely, so I will add a new collection just for the line art properties. Next, head to modifier and select the object where you want to add the line art like this. And remember, you're only able to see the line art properly from the camera, because if you not see it from the camera, it will look like this. So if you haven't have a camera yet, just create one. Short tips, you can add the toggle lock camera to view to the quick favorite list for quick access. And you can find the menu here, just press N, and it's here. Now, let's go back to the modifier. Adjust the thickness to around 5, and actually, we're gonna control the thickness using the thickness modifier. Enable the custom curve, and set the thickness to 25. And you'll notice that the lines become thick on one side and taper on the other side. So let's adjust the curve by moving this point downwards, and drag the middle part upward like this. By making the curve like this, we're gonna get the result that the lines is thinner in both sides but thicker in the middle. Feel free to add more points to customize the thickness to your liking. We can also add a length modifier to extend or to trim the line's length. I'll place the modifier here before the thickness modifier, and since I'm gonna use the random offset, I'll set this value to 0, and now we can adjust the random offset here. There is no exact value here, but yeah, just make it not too uniform. And the next modifier, we're gonna add a noise modifier. And we're gonna only use the position noise, so I'm gonna only adjust the position and also the noise size value. This adds a touch of randomness and occasionally causing the lines misplaced from the expected position, making it look more natural and also more interesting by slightly creating a separation between the lines and also the color. Sometimes I also include an offset modifier to randomize the line art position. While it may seem similar with the noise modifier, each offers its own unique effects. And here I'm gonna adjust the position offset only, but feel free to experiment with the other transformation like the rotation or also the scale for even more possibilities. Okay, let's call it done for the basic line art. Let's move on to our next type of line art here. We're gonna use a floating mesh as a guide for the line art. I like this method because it's easy to control and also easier and lighter to rig. Okay, for the mesh, I will use a cylinder and place it on the wrist covering the watch. It's better to move the cylinder in object mode, so we can maintain the object pivot orientation, making it easier to scale or rotate by using the object orientation. Okay, after that, I will add several edge loops here as a guide for the line art. I'll select the 3 loops here, near the ends and also the middle one, and then right click and select Mark Freestyle Edge. Later, the line art will be rendered on these marked edges. The next thing that I will add is these straight lines here to match it with the design. I'll select the edge loop here, and then duplicate, and then just right click or press escape to release the transformation. I prefer to avoid creating any intersection for the freestyle edge marks because it can confuse the engine about the direction of the line art to be rendered. So yeah, it's better to separate the edge. After the mesh is complete, let's add a new line art specifically for this type of line art. This is how it looks for now, but we want to hide some of the line art. Go to the modifier tab, and on the edge type, turn off everything except for the mark edge and loose. But wait, I think the straight lines is too close to the surface of the cylinder and made it unable to be rendered. Let's scale it up a little bit to make a little gap between the cylinder and also the lines. Yeah, now we can see the lines clearly now. And next for the mesh, let's add a transparent material. Click new and name it transparent perhaps. Change the shader to transparent. And if you see it from the render, it's become black like this. Go to the material, change both of these settings to alpha hash. And now we can see that the material become completely transparent now. Oh, also don't forget to move the line art properties to the line art collection. I noticed that sometimes the line art has a strange appearance when it suddenly disappears. To fix it, you can use the occlusion setting in the modifier, enable the range, and then increase the N value. I think set it to 1 should be enough. Next, I will add some modifier to make the line art more dynamic. I will add the length modifier to trim some of the lines, similar to what I just showed you previously on the basic line art. I think I need to increase the occlusion number by 1 more. Let's increase it to 2. And additionally, I'll add a thickness modifier to taper all of the tips. And for the color, I will make it white and reduce the opacity to make it more transparent. I found that using the fully white color is quite distracting. Okay, I think this watch looks interesting already. Let's move on to the next type of line art, which is the shoulder line art. This one looks like an extension of the contour line around the shoulder, as it was drawn very quickly with a confident stroke. And to achieve this result, we're gonna need to create a mesh that looks like a capsule, and we're gonna need 2 of them here, and we need to match the shape almost the same with the shoulder silhouette. So, I will start by creating a sphere, and again, I will use the object mode instead of moving the vertices, and I will start by creating the horizontal line first, and place it like this. And you can scale it like this, but don't make it too long because we're gonna need that curved shapes. After that, we can use the sculpting tool, like the grab tool, or maybe press G, to adjust the shape to match with the shoulder shape. Make the silhouette similar with the shoulder, as the line art will be rendered based on the silhouette of the object. Next I will add another one, and this time is for the vertical line. Just do the same thing, but don't sculpt it too much to avoid making a wobbly shape and keep it smooth for the best result. Once you finish, you can select both of the sphere and combine them together by pressing Ctrl G. And after that, let's add a mirror modifier and use the body as the mirror object. And now we have the sphere on both of the shoulder. And next we can add the line art properties for the shoulder and move it to the line art collection. As you can see, the line art looks far from what we want, and we don't want to have these intersection lines here. So let's go to the edge type, turn off the intersection, and now we have the lines around the silhouette only. However, I only want the line art to be drawn on certain parts, so let's create a mask and use it to control the line thickness. To create the mask, select the object, go to the object data, and add a new vertex group, and name it shoulder mask. Copy the name, because we're gonna use it later. After that, select the shoulder line art properties, disable the mesh output, and paste the vertex group name here. Since we haven't created a vertex group in the line art properties as a target, let's create one. Go to the object data, click this plus button here. You can just use the same name, Ctrl V to paste, and then go back to the modifier and select the vertex group we just created. After the setup is done, let's continue by painting the weight for the vertex group. Select the object, and then press Ctrl Tab and select weight paint. And I will focus the weight around this area where I want the line art to be rendered. And yeah, just keep painting, maybe something like this, but don't make it too far because it's gonna make the lines too long. After it's done, press Shift Tab and select Object Mode, and let's go back to the modifier and add a thickness modifier. Change the vertex group to shoulder mask, and now we can have the control over the line thickness around the mask area. And to remove the other line, we can go to the line art modifier and change the thickness to 1. It's not gonna completely hide the lines, but at least it will reduce the thickness and make it barely visible. So for the thickness modifier, we need to increase the thickness quite high, maybe like 25 or maybe 50. And maybe we can increase the occlusion number to 1. You will see the lines crossing like this. And next for the color, we can change the color to red, or maybe we can pick the color from the texture. And to make the sphere invisible, let's change the material to the transparent material. Now that we have the outline on the shoulder, we can see it nicely from many angles with a nice thickness and curve. And yeah, we completed all of the art lines for this artwork. We have the basic line art for the whole body, we also create the line art using the floating mesh, and we also learned how to use mask for the line art. That's all for the explanation about this Spider-Man character. I hope you learned something and you can apply it to your artwork. And yeah, you can check me on Instagram on your latest artwork, and I'll give you my best to give you my opinion on your artwork. Okay? Thank you for your time and see you on the next video. Bye!